guys? Welcome to Breakfast with Bobby episode. excuse me, wow, that's a little weird. Sorry. Episode something or another. Yeah, I've kind of lost track at this point, and that's not because there's like an impressive amount of these. It's just my brain doesn't number, or numbers don't brain, whatever, however you want to mix that up. Yeah, kind of mentioned breakfast rant. Let's talk about what it's going to be, and well, let's talk about being a hybrid athlete and what that actually means. And what that actually means is that if you are doing the sport of strongman nowadays, you don't have an option but to be a hybrid athlete if you want to be any good at all. For a long time, I always looked at like the 231 or the 105 class strongman, and I was like, oh, and I was like, those guys are the true hybrid athlete, not CrossFit, because they were too big to do CrossFit or didn't want to for other reasons, but they were too small to do strongman in the open class. So you had a bunch of guys running around, you know, some of them walked around at 250, 260 and cut to 231 or under, but that's a dangerous size to be. It's a very fast size, and some of these guys had static strength that would rival more than a few of my competitors in the realm of, I would say, the top 15 in the open class right now. So that being said, I think the 105 class had the whole hybrid athlete thing figured out because they had to. And I think now, because of shows like the Rogue Invitational and even the Strongest Man on Earth, we're starting to see more and more guys in the open class like myself, Mitchell Hooper being the prime example, Thor Bjornsson as well. They are drifting into the territory, or they are within the territory of hybrid athlete, and I think I'm just slowly headed that way. But I think the majority of the sport is, oh, double yoke. Sorry guys, got a double yoke, my bad. That's kind of cool. I don't know. Crap, that changes all the macros. Shit. All right, don't worry about it. We're gonna guess this. Point being, you have those hybrid athletes like Thor, Mitchell Hooper, and then you have guys that are teetering on the edge like myself. I think guys like Maxime Boudreau would be an added to that list as well. And what I'm defining as that term is somebody who has, I guess I would say, above average, and I do mean general population average, cardiovascular capabilities, but still excels in other areas of extreme skill in either strength sports or fitness-oriented sports, we'll say strongman, powerlifting, CrossFit. CrossFit as well. You guys are the hybrid athletes, I guess, especially those of you that are extremely strong. And I know there's a couple borderline 700-pound deadlifts walking around on the top end of CrossFit. You guys are cleaning 300-pound logs, so hybrid. But what that means, right? What that basically means is that we have a series of athletes that have begun pursuing cardiovascular, I guess, endeavors, or just trying to make ourselves a little bit healthier on that front, as well as getting our diet tracked down. Now, Mitch did do a video recently saying that he and Thor were really the only two guys taking care of their diet. Sorry, Mitch. Not quite true big guy. But anyways, no judgment. No need to make that call. However, you have more and more of us paying attention to our diet, and then you have some athletes like Pablo Cardiaca, who is extremely cardio gifted, we'll say in the sport terms to most of the athletes. But he does lack some static strength. But then again, he has a 400 plus pound log press, which, okay, he's kind of stepped over into hybrid as well. He's just a little tall, and I think it hurts him. But for myself, when I have 1 week where I do a sub 19-minute 5K skier, and the next week I'm deadlifting 905 for a single with some still in the tank, we've now branched into kind of a different area of fitness, and it's really unique, and I'm starting to see it play in more and more play an impact in the sport of strongman, especially with some of the updates that World's Strongest Man, or excuse me, some things that are being leaked about World's Strongest Man next year and how they're going to do the contest. Go watch Lawless's video on that. He did a nice piece on it about what may or may not be happening. But we are starting to see the need for more of the hybrid athlete in the sport of strongman because, one, it's hard to crack into the top 10, and once you're there, your goal is to stay there. Well, that means you have to travel a lot, okay? And what I mean by a lot is most people that come into the sport of strongman are not going to have traveled as much as they do if they break into the pro circuit. So to be able to be a 300 plus pound man and travel to, in this situation, what's going to be Scotland, and then perform after being there for a few short days, is a very difficult thing to do, especially when you're being expected to do it to a degree of elite status like we are. Now, the larger you are, the harder that is to do. The body simply doesn't handle daily life stresses as well. You need more sleep. You may not be able to sleep because you don't have your CPAP. You may not be able to sit comfortably on the plane on the way over to whatever country or state you're going to. So now you have to recover from the plane ride, right? It sounds stupid, but it is a thing. You have to get out, you have to stretch, you have to activate those muscle groups that have decided they no longer want to work. So being larger and being larger and the things that come with that, and larger, I don't mean myself. I think in the sport of strongman, it's easy to see larger and then real life see larger. They're not the same thing. I'm small in the sport. So for me, traveling is actually relatively easy compared to the likes of what it would have been like for Brian Shaw, Thor Bjornsson, Gad Bilton, those guys, right? Even Mitch Hooper, who's a couple inches taller than I am. I imagine those couple inches when he travels, it really is kind of, it's not a great time. Same thing with Bo Stoltmans. They're massive guys. So I can imagine being a little bit smaller, even them, Hooper being a little bit smaller compared to them, makes travel just a wee bit easier. But also, generally being in better shape means you're going to do better at most general things, like recovery. The better shape you're in, the better you're going to recover. That is a fact. Your blood circulates better, your heart works better, your body knows what to do with nutrients, right? There's just less existing stressors on your body from existing, which a lot of people don't account for those. But the heavier that you are, just general stressors of life are magnified in their response to your body, right? In terms of your heart, your blood pressure. I would venture to say that the larger you are and the more stressed your body becomes, the more the more cortisol you release, which has a lot of negative function on the body outside of the necessary amount for the fight or flight response. So simply being larger with an above average cardiovascular system is a solid move. Now, it doesn't steal your gains. It's one of the worst things I've ever heard. Now, obviously, doing more cardio, losing some body mass is going to change out your lever some, but it doesn't steal your gains. It actually puts you in it puts you in position to be in better shape, which makes you less predisposed to various injuries just by being in good general health and shape, okay, as well as it gives you the ability to work harder. Now let's think about that. That would make a strong cardiovascular system a natural PED, because you have the ability to do more volume in a session, to recover faster, to accomplish more volume in a session, okay, thus getting stronger. It's really A plus B equals C here. It's not very difficult to see into, no pun intended. Now, unfortunately, what that does mean is that you're not going to be able to lean into the I need to gain weight because, ass moves mass, which is 100% true. However, you just can't continuously get fatter and fatter unless you're a powerlifter. And then I think you can actually get away with it. But if you want to be healthy or as healthy as can be, what I do is not healthy. You want to be as healthy as can be. You want to be as big as you can be while being as healthy as you can be. Then the better your cardio is, not saying it has to take priority over your resistance training, or you can't apply elements of cardio to your resistance training, but choosing just to get larger and larger at the expense of your heart and your lungs and your circulation is the quickest way to be the not fat strong guy, but the fat weak guy. So it's very intriguing when you look at the whole spectrum of thing, and we're saying, oh, you're a hybrid athlete. Well, why am I a hybrid athlete? It's like, oh, well, you did a sub 19 minute 5K ski erg, and then the next week you deadlifted 900 pounds raw with straps. It's like, well, yes, I did those things. Or maybe I'm just somebody who now has learned their lesson and values having a in-shape cardiovascular system. I value having, progressed my VO2 max, significantly since losing that weight and then gaining some back. Like, I like being able to work harder. So while most of you are saying hybrid athlete, I do genuinely believe the hybrid athletes are most likely just the only ones covering all their bases. So it's always the question of how do I get as strong as you are, or what's the secret to being as big as you are? Well, one, what I eat, and that's a whole other video that's worth being discussed. But if you want, most people when they say, oh, I want to be a hybrid athlete, they envision the size and the muscle mass and the density and the visible muscle mass that isn't covered up. They don't necessarily envision the drastic ends of that spectrum that you have to dance across to develop that muscle mass, basically that NFL linebacker look, right? Or maybe that a lean defensive end. Like, in order to do that, there's a lot more cardio-based movements involved than going into the gym and getting a pump. A lot of people don't realize that. And that's also why you have a lot of amateur strongmen, I've noticed, that don't really look like they have any business being 300 pounds. There's not many of them, because not many of them have that need, but it's also because they train like powerlifters, because it's a strongman, and it's about being strong, not about being an athlete, and making yourself, or putting yourself in position to live longer is in no way a benefit to a lifelong endeavor and or goal. I know, right? It just doesn't make any sense. However, I guess kind of what I'm egging at here is perhaps these individuals listed are not hybrid athletes. Perhaps they're just athletes, and we have forgotten the role that being an athlete plays in being strong. All right, guys, in rant. This one was kind of quick, kind of bounced off the walls a little bit. However, it's been on my mind for a second, so hope it opened your eyes, hope it made some sense, and please, you're getting skinny, go eat your breakfast.